The following is a mechanically reproduced announcement, previously recorded from a live scheduled program on 24.7 The Stream. This is not a live broadcast. All guests, callers, and hosts granted 24.7 The Stream permission to be recorded. This program may contain strong language or topics not suited for younger listeners. Parental discretion is advised. Thank you for listening to 24.7 The Stream.
Happy Monday, everybody. This is InformNation. This is your host, Alex Gabriel.
And your co-host, David Sick.
How is everybody's Monday going today? I know mine's going great because we're back on the air again.
Yeah.
I know.
After a little break we had, a little Memorial Day relaxation.
A little relaxation day, a little barbecuing, getting out there, cooking up some brats, cooking up some sausage.
That's all Memorial Day is really all about. It's about cooking and drinking,
It's
right?
about the meat.
It's about
the meat.
It's about the meat and the liquor.
Yeah, about meat and liquor and having the day off. You know, spending it with your family. And, I had a great time. I know you spent it with your family too, right?
I did. I had a great time.
We all had a great time. But last week we put on a repeat show. It was about freedom and everything, saying kind of our little aspect about freedom, giving a tribute to all the soldiers out there fighting those corporate wars. But
shout out to you.
Shout out to you corporate soldiers out there. But no, I do like a lot of the soldiers and give them a lot of respect too. But
yeah, they're willing to lay their life down for a cause.
Maybe they should get educated on what they're actually fighting for.
Hey, you know what? That's perfect, because today we're going to be talking about the education system here in America.
Oh boy, the education. You know what? The week previously to last week, we were talking about media manipulation, and we were talking about just manipulation in general. But, David's dad brought up, Mr. Sick,
shout out to Dad, hello.
Brought up education, and we missed it.
Yeah,
we missed education.
He talked about the 3 or 4 centers of control. There's media, government, science, and education. The 4 centers of real control that are manipulating people and their minds.
And education's a huge one. I mean, let's see, I went through one of those public indoctrination facilities as well.
Government control centers?
Government control centers from about the time that I was, about 4 or 5 years old up until I was, 18, graduated high school, did a little bit of college, dropped out, maybe about 19, 20 years.
That's a lot.
That's like a fourth of my life.
I know, think about it. You spend a fourth to a third of your life in a public school.
Yeah. And that's if you lived. That's if you lived like 80.
Yeah.
That's if you lived 80. Some people die young. Like
half, almost a majority of your life, half of it, you can almost say, is spent sitting in school all day.
Oh yeah.
Not learning for yourself, but being taught what to learn.
Yeah, you're being indoctrinated to their system of education. You're not actually figuring out, what you want to learn or the subjects that you're passionate about. You're learning what they want you to learn, what they want you to be passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
The weird thing is they don't really. I feel like I don't know if anyone went to a public school out there or a private school or been homeschooled, but I do know that in public schools they're not really getting you ready for life. How many people out there? I mean, if you have any discussions about this, call into the studio at our direct line 630-445-1213. That's 630-445-1213. If you have any stories on school, education, what you went through, online schooling, anything, give us a call.
I want to hear about your experiences.
Yes, we do. And, I went through public school, and they didn't teach you anything about life in there. They didn't get me ready at all. And I know a lot of kids that are getting out of school, they're like, oh my God, I have these bills I have to pay. And if you didn't take like a special financing class or anything like that, you're kind of screwed when it comes to actually figuring out your way in the real world. Because a lot of what they teach you is, let's say, content-based, like saying, oh, give me this answer, give me that answer, give me this answer, give me that answer. And you're supposed to regurgitate the information on them, and supposedly you understand it. And you spend all night studying and cramming for this test, and you pass it, but do you really have the understanding of the subject? Can you, explain it to someone else? Could you teach it to somebody else? And I think that's a big thing these days is that we're studying for all this information, we're bringing it all in, and we're regurgitating it back out on a test with multiple choice answers, but do we really understand it?
And right after the test, you forget about it.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're right onto a new subject again.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't even remember all the information until, the final exam. And then, I'm supposed to remember stuff I learned 9 months ago?
When really we didn't even cover it that much. It was like, here's a quick week of this, let's take a test on it, next thing.
Yeah.
They're just trying to push you out.
And then you get so many other questions on the final that you never even covered.
Yeah.
Because they're not the final from the teacher, it's the final from the school.
Yeah, from the, what do they call it, the board?
Yeah.
The board, like the superintendents and everything.
Right? It's like, we'll figure out what's going on in the test. And then, it's your job just to cover it all.
Yeah.
Like, wait, what?
It's kind of ridiculous. You know, I was watching a few things, getting ready for today's show and everything. I watched a few documentaries and everything, some little videos on YouTube. And YouTube is a great educational thing. If you use it for the right purposes, YouTube's awesome. I mean, do it yourself. You can figure out anything.
You want to on YouTube.
Yeah.
I mean, look at me. I mean, look at you. You have a vape pen. And what'd you try to figure out?
I tried to figure out how to coil. And I got it, but it just didn't work that well. But I got it, and it was just like, oh man, like I had the video going. I'm like pausing it. I got like this whole layout in front of me, and I'm trying to figure out these little mechanisms in there, and I got to coil the coil, and I got to put the cotton, and I got to drip it, and it's got to be exactly center in the middle of this piece, and I'm like, at the end I figured it out, but it just didn't work that correctly. It was giving out like horrible smoke clouds, and pretty much I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to buy a new one of these. I'm like, so, but anyways, that's not a really good example, because I really didn't figure it out. But you can find out how to do just about anything on YouTube. I mean, you can educate yourself. There's seminars on YouTube. There's webinars on YouTube.
There's whole documentaries on YouTube about anything you want to learn about.
Anything. I mean, like, a lot of the stuff that I'm getting for, like, health or wellness or, finances or figuring out self-help or anything like that, I'm going to YouTube. And people are asking me to pay thousands and thousands of dollars for this information that I got off YouTube for free. Yeah, and I'm not tens and tens of thousands of dollars in debt, and I got friends, and I'm like, they're like, oh yeah, I got my degree, I got my bachelor's in this and this and this, and I start talking to them a little about it, but they don't even understand the big picture of what they're talking about. I'm like, well, I just watched a couple of YouTube videos, and I kind of just did the work and checked out a couple websites that they told me to check out.
How the education system is compartmentalized.
Oh,
it's like
yeah.
You only learn about this, and you don't learn about anything else.
No.
Yeah, you can take a class in it. How many people pay attention to that class?
It's like doctors. It's like doctors are big into like pharmaceuticals. They have all their pharmaceutical training, all their RX training, everything to diagnose this symptom. It's pretty much symptom diagnosis. And that's pretty much what they learn like their whole time being a doctor. And they spend one semester in nutrition. One semester.
Even like max 2.
Yeah.
And that's just 1 year out of how many years of training and learning that you have to go through. You'll forget about it.
So they've been indoctrinated into the pharmaceutical side of medicine, which is probably one of the most unhealthiest sides of medicine ever.
How to just treat symptoms, not to get to the root cause and cure it.
It's kind of ridiculous when you really start thinking about how I'm horrible at this word. Compartmentalized. There we go. Compartmentalized. And I was just having a discussion on YouTube, actually. I made like a YouTube video, put it on Facebook and everything, and it was about processed food. And this guy was pretty much a troll. We were talking about trolls a couple weeks ago. He was trolling me, and he's pretty much saying, oh, what are you talking about? Processed food doesn't keep you in a fat storage state, yada, 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 this, and GMOs aren't doing that, and fast food isn't doing that. All it is about calories in, calories out. And I'm like, man, this guy really got educated well at at one of those government-funded schools.
Yeah, he's just talking about calories. He's not talking about chemicals.
Yeah, he's not talking about chemicals. He's not talking about how they're throwing your body in balance. And what draws me to my point is the compartmentalization of schooling is like, okay, well, that kid learned nutrition, dietitian, maybe a little exercise, I can't think of the word right now, kinesiology. And how the body moves. But he didn't learn physiology, he didn't learn biology, he didn't learn chemistry.
Exactly.
He didn't learn all these other things that play a role into actually becoming smart in that field, seeing the big picture and actually not just looking at, okay, well, this is the small little spectrum that I'm looking at. What you're saying does not have anything to do with what I learned, and it sounds totally wrong. And if you put a little molecule of a calorie on this thing and I light it with a Bunsen burner and that's how much energy it takes off to burn, that's not a human body.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm like, okay, why don't you go talk to some physicians
Yeah.
and bring up your point that, processed foods and GMOs aren't bad for you, and
Yeah.
see what they tell you.
and then he tried to just totally write me off. He's like, yeah, well, you work at GNC. He's like, they just make you like a corporate monkey and tell you what to say. I'm like, no, actually, I went into there because I like nutrition. I like talking to people about this stuff, and I've actually learned a lot through doctors. I've learned a lot through holistic doctors and everything.
You used it as an outlet.
Yeah.
To learn what you want to learn.
Yeah.
You didn't just get in there and just be like, well, I'm just going to stick to GNC and GNC only.
Yeah.
You branched out.
Yeah. I mean,
The
learn
real
a
shit.
whole bunch of stuff through there, and you get people in every day that teach me something, and I'm not the guy that's going to say, hey, well, I know this, and this is what I know. Like, if you have some better piece of information that makes sense,
Spread it.
and I'll be willing to take it up and spread it to the people that I'm talking to. But I mean, our conversation today is about education. And education's a big thing. We go through it for most of our lives. We're sitting in a classroom most of our lives. Kids are getting doped up with medicine to sit through these boring classes.
Because that's how you know there's a problem, because the classroom situation has got so mundane and monotonous and boring that the kids they're young. They have a lot of energy. They're very sporadic. And they can't sit through long periods of class time just sitting in a chair, staring at a board, listening.
It's like, what, a class is given 50 minutes, right? Usually 50 minutes.
Exactly, and you got to cram it all in. But majority of these kids, they want to be interactive and learn more. And so when they find kids like that, what do? Oh, you have ADD.
Yeah.
Or you have ADHD. Let's throw you on a bunch of meds.
It's like, oh, you have too much energy for this. Well, maybe you should try figuring out a subject where they can use their energy for something.
Exactly.
It's like, like kids maybe they want to go outside and do more physical activities. Maybe that's their thing. Let them go do that. Don't just make them sit in front of a whiteboard and write some assignments and everything. You remember that? Oh, man, I just thought about it now. I wish I could have brought this up to actually play on the air right now. But that kid that, bitched out that teacher.
Yes!
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes!
He's like, all you do is give kids these packets, and you don't care about the kids. You just want them to pass the packet, and, he just flips out.
And he, walks out of the class.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, I commend that kid.
Yeah, that kid stood up.
And said, you know what, I want to learn something.
Yeah.
He was in college. It's like, I paid to come to this school and learn, not just sit here and read a packet.
Yeah.
Or just do these problems in this packet. How is that teaching me?
That's all they do, give you a packet. In a lot of classes, I know even school has changed since I left. I graduated high school in 2009. You graduated in 10, right?
Yeah.
School has changed so much in the last 5 to 6 years.
That whole Common Core thing is coming around.
I'm watching my brother go through it now, and I'm just watching kids go through school now, and it's like the standards have, first off, fell. They're not where they used to be. Everyone, and then also everyone's getting, everyone has to go to college these days, right? Or it's pretty much, it's the thing to go to college. Pretty much, if you don't go to college, you're a loser.
Yeah.
I guess I'm one of those losers, but
I'm a loser.
Yeah, a bunch of losers having their own radio show, spreading some information. I don't know. I don't think we're too much of losers, but they. Now you know what? Now I'm losing track of what I was actually going to say here.
Are you talking about how? Now I lost my track.
Now we're screwing up here. Now we're screwing up. But no, I mean, you go through the school and everything, and actually you get out of there not knowing almost how to deal with yourself, how to deal with the world around you, and you don't know how to deal with these, life aspects, I would say. Trying to incorporate life into school is not going so well. Everything you learn in school almost has nothing to do with the outside world.
I mean, they call it education, but what really is education? Let's give the definition out.
Or let's call it schooling.
Yeah, okay.
Here, hold on, wait. Great quote. I got to have to throw this in here. It's a great quote by John Taylor Gatto. When you take free will out of education, that's when it turns into schooling. Interesting.
Oh wow. Look at it today. There is no free will in the education system. It's here's your block, here's what you need to know, and that's it. Don't think outside the box.
Yeah.
Think about what they teach you. But what really is education? Here's the definition. Education is the process of facilitating learning. Knowledge, skills, values, beliefs, and habits of a group of people are transferred to other people through storytelling, discussion, teaching, training, or research.
And that's the definition of education. Wasn't the definition of education back in Egyptian ages saying to bring out the true self?
Yeah.
Kind of bringing out already from what's within you.
It's what you already know.
Yeah. it's like what you're born and what your purpose is on this earth, and that's kind of education. Like, let's bring out what's special about this person.
Not just, oh, let's just fit him into this box.
Mm-hmm.
Like that one quote that I saw a little comic on Facebook, and it was a picture of, you know, kids sitting in a classroom, and it was a profile view, and a teacher coming around to all like the little thought bubbles, how they look like clouds.
Yeah.
She was coming around with scissors and snipping the
I've
clouds
seen that one.
into squares.
I've seen that one. And we're talking about education. I want to do a little brief history on education. Modern day school was developed in the 18th and 19th century in the periods of the Industrial Revolution. So school was pretty much set up to get people ready to get in industry, to get in working on assembly lines, working in the industrial complex of America at the time.
And like, look at the time schedule on how school is set up.
Oh yeah,
it's in the fall, you know, after the harvest.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's all winter long
Mm-hmm.
until the spring, which is the planting season. And then summer, you know, is where you work on the farm, or you work out, where people when originally the education system came out, that's what people were doing. They weren't in cities, they were more agrarian.
Mm-hmm.
So you came from the agrarian and tried to fit those kids into a schooling system that would incorporate their other life. So you go to school during the winter, when there is nothing to do, and you get out of school in the summer when you need to start planting.
Yeah, and that's pretty much how it worked out for education back then.
Yeah.
And then I think people used to do most of their, most of education before that time period was in churches, and the Jesuits offered actually some forms of education back then as well too. So before, you know, the 18th, 19th century really didn't have like public schools.
There
like
wasn't
you were educated through either your church, either maybe a group of Jesuits, or maybe...
Or you were just a common person that didn't go to school.
Or your parents maybe taught you some things about, you know, agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you knew you were going to spend your whole life on a farm, wouldn't you want to know how to farm?
Yeah, you don't need to know about anything else.
And then economic power in education of its citizens. So, you know, they say raising the standard of education, like right now in the United States, they're supposedly raising the standards with Common Core, but really it's just setting back standards. But supposedly that's what leads to a bigger economic power, a big global power within the globe.
Because it gets more people to be smarter.
Mm-hmm.
And when people are smarter, they develop more things.
Yeah.
They get into sciences and stuff like that and start thinking and doing more research on advancements, not just, oh, go to work for somebody else and let them all do all the advancement.
And the weird thing is, you know, you would think that, okay, well, we want to raise the standards for our citizens in the United States to become a bigger economic power in the world, even though we already are the global, you know, what is it, what do they call it?
We can give the little Navy quote. Everybody's seen that commercial. Oh, a global force for good.
Yeah.
Like, not for America, a global force.
Yeah, because we're the world police now. But anyways, you know, talking about being, you know, smarter to develop our nation more, there's two differences with types of thinking that I looked up. There's convergent and there's divergent thinking. And actually, the two differences is convergent is really what we go through every day in school. It's actually, I'll read the definition, ability to give the correct answer to a standard question that does not require significant creativity. For instance, like a multiple choice test, saying yes or no, true or false. That's a convergent way of thinking.
Just basic.
Basic. It's
no individuality. It's just, oh, here's the answer, pick it.
Yeah. And then that's pretty much regurgitation of information. And then you have divergent thinking. The ability to see lots of possible answers, different answers, and ways of interpreting a conversation. Now, doesn't that sound more like smarter? If you're divergent thinking, kind of thinking outside the bubble.
It brings that creativity back.
Yes, it does. But we'll get a little bit more into the difference between convergent, divergent, modern day school systems, and what it's actually doing to your brain throughout time. So tune in and find out what divergent thinking will do for you. This is InformNation. We'll be right back. Here we are, back with InformNation, 23 minutes past the hour worldwide. And here we are talking about the education system in America, or maybe across the world right now, but mainly my perspective is in America right now.
Oh, yeah, because it's so bad here.
Yes, it is. And what we were going to talk about is convergent versus divergent thinking, but we have a caller in on the radio today, And actually, the caller is Frank Sick over in Hoffman Estates right now. He's actually on his way to work. He thought he's listening in, thought he'd give a call, share a little bit of his experiences with the public school system. And I got a little background on Frank here before we were on break. And there was this kid that was on his Facebook or whatever. What would it, you know the story?
Yeah,
David.
my brother basically told me that the police came to this kid and told him he might maybe have gotten in trouble or something, and they told him they want to use his Facebook to spy on other kids.
So what do you know about this, Frank? With police officers in the school spying on kids through Facebook?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly how it is, and thank you very much for having me on the show. Yeah, how it is I knew him very slightly. I mean, I just knew him because he graduated with me. But what happened is that after we graduated, there was word out on Facebook that this kid got beat up and got severely beat up. I kind of did my own little background on him, too. Apparently, my school's police officers, there were two of them, used this kid's Facebook to bust all of the athletes and their parties and their drinking and their, all the little idiots posting marijuana and all the little photos up on Facebook. But, after a while, after we graduated, apparently word got out that it was his Facebook that the cops were using. And he got jumped and, wound up, severely hurt and in the hospital. I saw a few photos of him in the hospital. He broke his jaw, his eye socket.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, cops will use all of the students, well, not all the students, but they'll use one or two students' Facebooks. All the kids were quiet and not in the crowd, so they're not really, out there. But they will use, their Facebooks.
Wow, that's ridiculous. I mean, cops using kids' Facebooks these days to actually kind of, infiltrate Facebook with students' friends and everything.
And that goes to show you right there that whatever happens outside of the public school is now used against you in the public school.
I mean, I think wasn't one of your friends or something got caught with a red cup or something like that?
Yes, yeah, one of my friends.
Yeah,
Frankie, go ahead.
Yeah, it was actually one of my old track buddies from track, I believe my junior year. He got suspended for 2 weeks out of school for being at a get-together, a guy's birthday party, and he was having one of those red Solo cups in his hand, those little red plastic cups.
Yeah.
There was no proof of any alcoholic beverage in that cup. He claimed that it was water, and he got suspended 2 weeks out of school because he had a red Solo cup in his hand. Other proof of anything illegal.
That's ridiculous. That's just assumption-based right there. They're suspending kids based on assumption. I mean,
and I was one of those kids who actually got suspended.
Tell us your story.
Yeah, tell us your story, Frank. I know you kind of went deep into this.
Yeah, my story is kind of a little wacky, unfair one. But what it was is one day in the summertime, it was my friend's birthday who lives over in my neighborhood, and obviously, there was beer. We're all underage, stupid kids at the time. But what happened is that we got busted. Cops came, and we all got our own little, disciplinary actions our own way. But being that it was in the summertime and we were definitely out of school at the time, I then, when the school year got brought up again, I then got suspended a week out of school for an action outside of school.
Months later.
It was, I believe, 3 months later.
That's ridiculous. That's the state making their way in on our personal lives and bringing it to school. I feel like, I understand if you're underage drinking, you're going to get your ticket, whatever it is, underage drinking. Mm-hmm. It's a little ticket. You go on supervision, everything. But now you're actually, I'm not going to say, being out of school is the worst thing because the most time you could spend away from the system is probably better off. But now you're suspending a kid from not getting his education because of something that he did outside of school during the summer. That's ridiculous.
And that's exactly what it is. And what really kind of stunk about it is that why is it that, where my high school was is about 3 towns over from where I live. So why are the police department now contacting my school, and why is my school looking into me when they have no responsibility for me at the time.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I don't know what to say about that.
And that goes to show right there that how far-reaching the public school in the state has gone into everybody's lives.
Oh yeah.
That you can be affected months down the line for a stupid mistake or a little thing that, could just be a slap on the wrist, or, he already had served his punishment. He had his court supervision, and now he's being affected in the school. And that goes against what he's learning in the school. Now he's out of school for a week, unable to be taught anything.
That's probably better off.
It's not only, you know what, David, I just want to touch on that one real quick, too, is that it is also not only am I not in school to learn and get educated, but I am now kicked off of my sport team that I was on at the time my first 3 meets. So for my first 3 track meets at that time, I got suspended off of it. So now I'm not only not learning, but I'm also not participating and moving forward with my team.
That also makes you look worse as a person. That's kind of like them saying oh, you're less of a person now by doing that. We all make mistakes. You don't need to kick me off team. We're young. I mean, yeah, we need some disciplinary actions, but it's whoa, first I got a ticket, I got to go to court. Second, I'm in trouble with my parents right now. My parents are going to whoop my ass. Third, I'm getting suspended from school. And fourth, I'm kicked off my track team for the first 3 meets. How many things do they need to do to you these days? I feel like every time they're busting these kids, they're putting them lower and lower and lower into the system. And it's ridiculous.
And when you get suspended from the school, you're required to make up that work that you weren't even in class to learn.
Oh, wait. And now colleges get to see that you got suspended, and they might not accept you based upon that fact. That's ridiculous.
It's all a money game. It's all a money game. But I personally feel like it's all a money game.
Oh, it is a money game. You're dead on with that one.
And there's another little thing, too. I believe it was my senior year, during my track season of my senior year. There was a kid on the cross country, no, not the cross country team. It was on the distance team or something. His father was a teacher at my school, so he was his teacher was. I mean, his father was a teacher at my school. When his father went away with his wife for the weekend, the kid, I believe his name was Jake, he then had a party at his house with underage students and alcohol and drugs and all that good stuff. His father almost got then fired from the job and almost would get his teaching license taken away from him because of his
because of his kid having a party
actions. Exactly.
Wow.
Yes. So his father had some other teachers of his friends drive by the house and check upon the house and everything. One Saturday night, there's street full of cars and the house full of underage drunks. And his father, I mean, I heard about this. This was a huge news over the entire school. But his father almost got his teaching license suspended and fired because of his son's irresponsibility and his dumb actions.
That is
but
so
then there
messed
was
up.
also, now this is the really messed up part. Now cops will use their those actions against people. So once they find out who was at the party, the cops will then talk to those students, interrogate those students, and say, I need you to write me down all the names of the kids who were at that party unless you get this consequence.
They want everyone to be snitches.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to practically just, narc and admit of everyone else's names who was there in order for you to maybe get 1 or 2 days less of a suspension.
They say snitches get stitches.
Yeah.
Snitches get stitches. And that exactly goes back to one of my buddies. Well, I'm not going to say he's my buddy. I don't even know the kid anymore. But he snitched, and he gave away his Facebook. He actually then let the law take in charge of his own personal Facebook in order to bust all of those people. And I was one of those people. They caught me through that Facebook of the party that I was at.
That's ridiculous.
So I was one of those guys.
But anyways, thank you, Frank, for calling in today. We really appreciate your story, and we really appreciate you bringing it to everyone across the world here, talking about what's actually happening between the state and the public school system these days. But we're going to let you go here, Frank, but thank you for calling in InformNation.
Thank you very much, Alex. Have a nice day.
See you, Frank. But yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous that the state's getting involved in the school. I mean, we had a police officer at my school and everything, and I wouldn't say he's a bad guy or anything. I kind of knew him a little bit. I was a little bit of a troublemaker back in the day, But one of the things was that I had happen was a long time ago. It was my sophomore year. We always kind of had gym classes between freshmen, sophomore, and then juniors and seniors do gym together. Mm-hmm. So I was a sophomore, and this new freshman kid came in, and this kid just talked so much crap. Just so much. He used to just rag on me and like a couple of the older kids. Like one of those young kids that just needs to be put in his place a little bit.
Right.
And he used to just go and get at me. And I used to kind of like wipe it off like, dude, I'll beat you, bro. Like, dude, like, like I'm a little bigger than you and everything. I mean, he wasn't a small kid by any means. He was actually like a little chubby kid. But biggest mouth on him ever. And, one day down in the locker room, pretty much I threw him against the locker and everything. After like a month of doing this, I'm like, dude, you need to stop doing this. Like, I swear, like, you need to stop doing this. Little kid took his lock, put it in his finger, like, you wrap your lock around a finger like a brass knuckle.
Yeah.
And he's like looking at me. He's like, man, I'll punch you right in the face. And I'm like, dude, get the hell out of here. I'm like, I don't want to do this. And I wasn't a big fighter back in the day, but I had to stand my ground. Like, dude, you need to chill, man. Yeah. And so that ended up happening. And then, I caught him talking again. So I visited him by his locker in the hallway. And I like pushed him against the locker again. And I kind of, was a little bit more physical this time, really kind of holding him there, pushed him, didn't punch him or anything. And, pretty much told him to stop. And he said he would and everything. Next thing you know, a couple periods later, I get called down to the office. Police officer charges me with battery for pushing him against his locker. That's considered battery. Now I have to go to court as being 15. I think I was 15 years old at the time, getting charged with battery for pushing a kid against a locker. I mean, that's ridiculous, I think.
Oh, yeah, and you see even with fights in schools nowadays.
Yeah.
Even if you're not the instigator of a fight, if someone comes up to you and pushes you and punches you, and you want to defend yourself as a human, it's a natural reaction to defend yourself, to punch back, to get the attacker away from you, you then get arrested.
In trouble. You're supposed to like sit there like a coward.
Yeah, just sit there like a sheep and just let that person wail on you, and then nothing will happen to you.
It's pretty much the pussification of the United States.
Oh yeah,
that's what I call it.
They're teaching these children not to be, I'm going to say aggressive, but to stand their own ground as humans.
That's what we need to do. We need to stand our own ground. And I mean, they're almost indoctrinating us not to stand our own ground. So when it comes to things within the United States and rules and regulations and policies and laws, and
so now you won't say anything about it because you'll just let it be.
Because that's what you did all during school. You just let it be. And that's ridiculous. But I mean, for being a kid, being hit with battery, I thought that was kind of.
I think that's ridiculous.
And I think like some of these kids need to get their ass kicked in school. Like, I mean, look like a long time ago, like, oh well, kids grow up with problems and everything. Kids are growing up with more problems now since we've done that. Not having like the bullies get their butt kicked or whatever in school. Like some kids need to figure out the hard rules of life. If you're gonna piss this guy off and get in his face the whole time, you might get punched in the face.
Yeah.
And I don't think that kid should go to jail and have his life. Like recently with that whole thing in the court system, where I had to go deal with the cop with the whole safety checkpoint.
I remember
they brought up that battery thing. I'm like, I was 15 years old. Like, oh, it doesn't matter. I'm like, wait, I thought what happened to that whole thing before you were 18? I'm like, that doesn't matter? Whatever. Anyways.
I can't believe that it just stays on you forever. So when you get busted, or if you get caught up at 25 years old, they'll talk about something that happened 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And like, oh, look how bad he was.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wait, like, that was a stupid kid mistake.
Yeah, and I just pushed a kid. Like, battery sounds like I beat him and everything, but then they're like, oh, that would be considered assault. This is just battery. Like, okay, man, like, grow a pair. I pushed a kid, man. Come on. But anyways, we were talking right before we went on break about convergent versus divergent thinking and the United States trying to become a big economic power in the world and educating its citizens to be more creative and innovative. But, divergent thinking, which we don't really focus on school, was the ability to see lots of possible answers, different answers and ways of interpreting a conversation. I don't think we learn like that anymore.
No, we learn one way and one way only, and you're not allowed to learn your own way and bring out the creativity in yourself in order to give it to the world.
And a good little test for yourself to figure out if you're convergent or divergent thinking. And here's the question: How many uses can you think of for a paperclip? That's divergent thinking. Now, most people score 10 to 15 uses. 10 to 15 uses for a paperclip. Geniuses in divergent thinking score about 200 uses for a paperclip. Because then they start thinking out of the box, like, does it have to be made out of metal? Can I use it out of this? Can I extend it to this length? Can I burn it really quick? Like, they start, like, going out of the box and thinking every little thing that they could do with a paperclip.
I can only think of one way to clip papers.
Yeah. Like, it's just
I
good to
I went through the public school system. I can only think it just clips papers together.
You could clean out a tobacco pipe with a paper clip. But anyways, so in the weird thing is, okay, listen. What do you think? 98%. Okay, hold on. There were geniuses. 98% of these kids were geniuses in divergent thinking. You know what grade it happened in?
What?
Kindergarten.
Yeah,
98% of kindergartners were divergent thinker geniuses.
It's because they haven't been exposed and indoctrinated into this is the only way.
Yep, and then like it goes lower and lower. 8 to 10, it goes lower. 13 to 15 age, it goes lower and lower.
Because if you think about it, as children, when we're very young, we have no preconceived notions of what things should be. Mm-hmm. And being young and impressionable, as we all were, like you go to school and you believe that, the teacher's teaching you the right things to do, right? Mm-hmm. We haven't been exposed to anything else.
No.
And only once you grow up and you realize that, hey, there's so much more out there that can be taught. And some of the things that we're taught are not true.
Oh, yeah.
And then by that time, it's almost too late.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for a lot of people. I mean, I'm 23 years old. I figured I've broken out of that box.
Yeah, you definitely need to break out.
But there's
of
a lot
box.
of people who are like 30, 40 years old that haven't broken out of the box yet.
People are like 60, 70 that haven't broke out of the box.
What's going on with the education system today that people aren't where's the creative thinking?
There is none.
And even in the schools, where is the creative thinking time? They took art out of the school. I remember in public school, we had art until like 5th grade. As soon as we left 5th grade, you can maybe go to a little art class, but you don't really learn much.
No, it's like they break it. Like you could go to art, you go to an art one, you go to a technology one, you go to like a home ec class, and there's a couple different other ones that you go to, and pretty much it's just like an eighth of your year you spend in art, and then in high school you have to take art.
Yeah, if you want to.
Yeah, but it's mostly just math, science, reading, English, whatever
history,
history,
the basics.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing that you learned the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how much history has really changed? How much more can you learn about American history?
Well, actually, they don't even teach real American history.
They teach textbook American history.
Yes, they do. So they cover up a lot of things, like the genocide that we made on the Native Americans. We don't tell our kids how we founded this nation at all.
Yeah, it was just, the Founding Fathers were great and all, but no one knows about the real American story.
Does anyone know that actually the Pilgrims and everything killed more people than actually the Nazis did to Jews back in World War II? We killed 12 million Native Americans and pushed them west. Slaughtered them. We put viruses in their blankets, like smallpox in their blankets, put them in villages.
That's truth.
And then, we have Thanksgiving. Give me a break.
That's just a corporate holiday.
Yeah, it is.
But
anyways, I mean, schools these days are set up in really, really weird ways. And actually, going back to what I said in the beginning with the industrial style time that public schools came out, listen to this. This is how schools are set up, and tell me if this isn't like a factory. They have school bells. They're on a bell system. They have separate facilities for everybody. Separate subjects, compartmentalization. Then they educate children by the batches, a.k.a. age groups. And pretty much what I'm thinking from that, it's like a date of manufacture. That they're pumping these kids out on an assembly line.
If you're born between this day and this day, you go here. If you're born between this day and this day, you go there.
It's like stamp on you. There you go.
And it's like and even with Common Core now, which we're going to talk about a lot. The next segment is Common Core.
Oh boy, I watched a whole documentary last night on Common Core.
There's so much about that, but even with Common Core now, they lowered. They're not raising the stands for everybody. They're just putting everybody at the exact same line.
Across the country now.
Yeah.
Actually, it's across the country with international influence on it as well, too.
So now it's a world education
It's
system.
pretty much like a world education. They'll tell you it's United States, but actually it came from some people within the United Nations as well, too, to kind of adopt a worldwide communism approach to education.
Common Core communism.
Like, I mean, it sounds exactly the same. Oh, we're the common people. Common Core, communism, all together. We're all one. We need to work for everybody. I don't know.
Don't work for yourself. Go work for everybody.
And that's what I feel like they teach you to do in school. They always teach you not to be an entrepreneur or not to create your own thing.
How to do your own taxes.
Yeah.
How to fix your own car. How to do your own things.
They don't teach you that.
No.
They teach you how to work for the man, work for another person, work for another corporation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's ridiculous. Like, hey, I want to learn more about this, this, and this. But they really don't give you that option. Like, oh, you get your what do they call it? Your extracurriculars, or not your extracurriculars, the subjects that you get to pick outside of your core ones.
Oh, your electives.
Your electives. You get a certain amount of electives, but then if you're trying to get into college, you need these electives in your courses, and then you only get a couple classes, like 2 electives. And as you get to your senior year, then maybe you get 3 or 4 electives if you've already passed all the classes up until then.
Mm-hmm.
And these electives and everything, I like those classes a lot more than your regular classes.
It's because I already had learned all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like I know how to do math, okay? I know how to do basic science.
And
I know how to read.
How much
I know how to
math do you
write.
even use?
Yeah. And there you go. Yeah. How much math are you using out there in your life? But when we come back, we're going to break down Common Core. Communism Core is like we like to call it here.
Communism Core.
And we're going to talk about how is it affecting your child. Join us back.
Here we are, back with InformNation, talking about education. InformNation, education. Ooh, it rhymes. I'm a poet and I didn't even know it.
Came up with that little rhyme to pass the time.
Yeah. If we have any callers out there that want to, put their little notion or their little 2 cents into education, the phone number to the studio is 630-445-1213. That's 630-445-1213. 1213.
Call in. Do you have a child in public school? Are you seeing your child's education go down the tube? And what are your personal experiences? Are you older? Have you had an education experience that you want to share? Let us know.
Join us in chat as well. Go to 247thestream.com/news.
News Talk.
And then just click the play button, and it says listen in chat. Click that button, and you'll join us in chat right away, and you'll be directed direct right to us.
I want to hear from you. I want to hear your story.
We want to hear the public's opinion
Yeah.
on education.
Who cares about what I have to say? I want to care about what you have to say.
I have a bunch of opinions. My mind jumps all over the place all the time with this stuff. I mean, it's idea based. I mean, it's theoretically based, I guess you could say. But anyways,
we're talking about Common Core.
Talking about Common Core.
Communism Core.
Communism Core, yes. And Common Core, I watched like a whole documentary of it last night. Actually, the documentary, if you want to check it out on YouTube.
It's right here. It's called Building the Machine.
Great.
Building the Machine.
Let's just stop right there. I'm sorry. I had something in my throat right there, but Building the Machine.
Was it Common Core in your throat?
Yeah.
Just being shoved down your throat? Yeah. All the Common Core education?
My brother talks about the Common Core thing now. Actually, in education, my brother's saying that they really don't grade you on right.
That's right. He was telling us about that. He's like, oh, yeah, it doesn't really matter if you have the right or wrong answer, as long as you just, figure it out.
Yeah, as long as you did your homework. That's all it is. As long as you tried. It's like giving everybody a medal.
Yeah.
Everybody gets a medal for trying. And that's kind of what Common Core is about. Actually, Common Core, here we are, a couple facts about Common Core. 45 states have adopted Common Core in their schools to provide standardization in all schools across the country. One of the schools...
Hey, we have a caller.
We have a caller here. You're live on InformNation. Who are we talking with?
You guys are talking with Martin Zyla. What's up?
How you doing, Martin?
What's going on, Martin? How's your day going?
Day's going good. How about your day, guys?
Going pretty good. What's your take on education right now?
My take on education, I mean, college kid, so I am actually in the process of, getting my degree or whatever. But, I'm doing it for the fact more to have the piece of paper so people can take me seriously because I have this piece of paper basically.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that I have noticed is, I have a cousin and I love him dearly, but very smart kid, all AP classes, but the kid has no common sense. The one thing that they don't teach in education, you guys are right, they teach, follow the man or or to follow rules basically, and to live like a sheep more. But he's got no common sense. I mean, he'll be, like, for example, walking into a house with a 2x4, he'll turn, break this glass, hit this wall. So, I mean, he just has no common sense whatsoever, which is, like, one thing that frustrates me.
Yeah, common sense is definitely not taught in education anymore.
Hey, I heard a great quote from a great man. Common sense is a purchased commodity.
But I mean, what are you going to school for right now? What's your take on, like, sitting in a classroom, or what the teacher, like, do they actually have time in the field? Like, are a lot of these teachers having time in the field, or are they morally based on I got this piece of paper? I don't know.
So basically, my take is I mean, you do got to sit in class and whatnot, and it does get boring, and it's really hard to do that. So that's the one hard thing that I feel about it, just because, sure, the class is 2 hours, but you're sitting there for the 2 hours listening and whatnot. And, I mean, I have to always have coffee or something with me just to try to stay awake. So one thing that I think they need to do is make it more interactive so all of us can actually enjoy it more, versus sitting there and just regurgitating information that they do day in and day out and bore us to death. Even though it's a subject that I enjoy, it can get very, very boring, basically.
You know, what I really wanted to ask you really quick on here, talking about coffee to stay awake in class, how many people do you know that are on these ADHD medications like Ritalin or Adderall to actually stay in school?
Oh, every person. I mean, I have a buddy, he's like, oh, well, good thing I took my Adderall today, otherwise I'd be falling asleep right now in class. So I feel like society's making us go towards that spectrum, so we all need to start to take prescription drugs to stay awake in class just because of how boring it is, basically.
It's like they're getting you into the whole prescription drug field, because the schools have been so dumbed down. In order to make yourself smart, you need prescription drugs.
Mm-hmm. And the stuff they're teaching you is so boring and so broad. It's like, I don't care anything that has to do with this book or this paper or this research article.
I got a question for you, Martin. You're in college, correct? How many years have you been in college?
I've been in college for about 2.5 years, working full-time, 50, 60 hours, and, work and going to school part-time as well. So 2.5 years, hopefully another year, and I'll have my associates, and maybe another 3 years, and I'll have my bachelor's.
Oh, wow. Like, do you feel that now you've been in school for this amount of time out of high school, now you're in college, have you, this is your opinion, please, have you learned really anything new and beneficial that for yourself being in school for this amount of time?
I mean, I got two takes, yes and no. I feel like I have learned, like I'm going to be like an accountant, but then my thoughts also possibly to go into law enforcement, just because I do work security and I do like, helping people out and whatnot, protecting people. So, but on the accounting aspect, yeah, I definitely feel like they teach me, how to do this, that, this is what this is, how to do that. But when it comes to learning about other things, like how to be like a motorcycle mechanic or something, or a bodybuilder on that part, I feel like they don't help at all, obviously. I mean, I'm not studying that, but the way that I learn the best is word of mouth from somebody talking to me about a subject that I'm very interested in. And then that's what actually always, I feel, helps me stay interested so I don't lose interest, basically. Hopefully that answered the question.
Yeah, it's almost like the storytelling and everything, what we were saying in the beginning, the definition, discussion, teaching, training, research, storytelling, and transferred through other people. It's almost like the best knowledge is kind of when you're ready to, like...
to accept that knowledge.
Accept the knowledge.
You came to that point where, like, okay, now I want to learn this.
Yeah, but like a lot of, I think, school these days is pretty much reverted to saying, hey, like, I'm being forced this knowledge upon me. But hey, Martin, we're gonna let you go here really quick here. But thank you for calling in.
Thank you, Martin.
Okay, we got him off there. But yeah, I mean, I feel like you need to come to a place where you want to learn.
Yeah,
like something that you want to learn.
Now where you're being forced to learn about this,
because you won't learn anything then.
Exactly, it's like being in school and you're forced to read a book. You're never gonna appreciate the reading of the book. You're just gonna read it. Oh, what can I understand? Let me write a little paper about it, and then it's done. But when you read for pleasure, you learn for pleasure, you gain more out of it. Mm-hmm. I could say here, personal opinion myself, I'm learning how to do radio. And I never really went to school for it. I came to that point where I said, you know what, I want to learn this. This has been a passion for me. Mm-hmm. And now I come to that point where I'm ready to accept all of it.
Yeah.
And now I'm learning more and appreciating it more because I have a passion to do it. Not like I'm just sitting in school like, oh, we're going to teach about radio today. I mean, how many people are really going to pay attention? Yeah. Only the people that have the passion for it.
You know what? I don't know if I could bring Todd in on this at all really quick here if he's listening right now. But what was, I wonder what Todd's take was going through the radio school. Because I know he went through a lot of radio before that and kind of had his whole idea of kind of radios being set up. He knew how to run it and everything. But, again, you need to get that piece of paper. I mean, what did you think about going through school for something that you kind of already knew how to do? You just needed the paper or
I went through school to learn the business side of it. I developed my personality over the years because broadcasting school teaches you a set way. That's it. So I defined my personality first, then went to the broadcasting school to learn the business itself, what's behind it, what this and this and this and this is, how to hone
in your skills, focus on things.
That's what that was about. But as far as the piece of paper, now I can call myself a professional. There's a difference. Before I was an amateur, and you're an amateur until you have piece of paper. No matter how many years I have, over a decade of experience, but until I had that piece of paper, I was an amateur. So that people do take you more seriously, and it adds more credibility to it. And you learn a lot of things that you didn't normally know or would have learned.
But you pretty much developed your personality, kind of your special niche into the field.
Right.
And then grab the piece of paper to kind of say, hey, you know what? I need to focus on these couple things that I need to learn about. And now I have it. Now I'm a professional. Now I've kind of honed in everything. And now I'm ready to go.
It's like you built your rock through your own passion and desire. And then you went to school to polish it.
Absolutely. It's just like a plumber. You know, a plumber, the handyman, goes around, he fixes this, he's the jack of all trades, master of none. If he went to school just to learn PVC piping, for example, then he became an expert at PVC piping.
Okay.
He mastered that skill.
Okay.
So now he can put that as added his credibility. That's what a lot of that is. I mean, a lot of the stuff's a waste of money, but some of it's not.
Yeah, I just feel like you don't want to actually take, education in the school system and make that have your rock.
Exactly.
Make that, go figure out what you want.
Build your rock, and then use the schooling
to kind of, polish the rock. There we go. That's actually
a great. Hey, I came up with that on the spot. There you go.
It's a great analogy.
It's because I didn't go to school for it.
Yeah. If we went to school, we would never be able to come up with that little analogy for polishing up your rock. But, we got a little sidetracked here. We were going to talk about Common Core, get back to this whole new thing hitting the United States in the last couple of years called Common Core, and it's how affecting your children in school and bringing their standards down. But anyways, this is InformNation. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back. Here we are, InformNation. And we're talking about Common Core communism.
Communism Core.
Communism Core.
Which is the standardized education across all of America. So now you have one education system for all people, not based upon the different demographics, the age groups, the learning abilities of students. Now it's all just one.
Yeah, just common. Just the common system.
Yeah.
The communism. Common system. Okay.
There you go.
But, I was saying 45 states adopted this back in 2013. And then also in 2013, the Gates Foundation gave over $200 million, just in 2013 alone, gave over $200 million to developing the Common Core system. So getting into a little conspiracy talk, I should put on my tinfoil hat right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna get my tinfoil hat on.
I got my tinfoil hat on. But why are these people wanting to do a Common Core system? That's weird. Why are you trying to bring the standards down?
It's because that's the standard education for the masses.
Yeah. They're different than the masses.
If you think about it, here's the three, almost like kind of the three different brackets of education. You got the masses, which is everybody, basically. All the masses, they go to what? The public school, and they learn the Common Core. And then you have your upper middle class, your your wealthier people, where do they send their children? To the private schools, right? Where they can learn real things and not just the basic common education.
Yeah.
Then you have your elites, your top people, and where are they sending their kids?
They got like those mystery schools.
They're sent to the mystery schools and the really high levels of education that's bringing real knowledge, not just learning about all the basic bull.
And I got a little article up here talking about, we're just talking about private schools, public schools, and everything like that. And a little article that I wanted to read out here really quick. It's called Teachers' Curriculum and Class Size. While most people assume that teachers at private schools are unqualified as public ones, it's important to note that all teachers in public school are usually state certified or at minimum working towards certification. Certification ensures that a teacher has gone through the training required by the state, which includes student teaching and coursework. Teachers in private schools may not be required to have certification. Instead, they often have subject area experience and an undergraduate or graduate degree in the subject they teach. There's a similar discrepancy between curriculum development in private and public schools. Public schools must follow state guidelines that set out specific standards and assessment procedures.
Common Core.
Yeah. In theory, this creates a certain amount of quality control. Private schools, on the other hand, often choose whatever curriculum and assessment model they wish. This freedom to design their own curriculum or avoid standardized testings can result in higher standards for students or, on the downside, lower. I mean, yeah, if you're going to a bad private school, it could be bad, and maybe the public schools are better because they have a certain state requirement for it.
And why are these schools so bad? Because they're not getting any funding.
Yeah.
I saw a commercial, or I heard a commercial on the radio, I forgot what it was, but I know I heard it. It was saying that, oh, we can set up, I think it was like a military commercial, maybe, yeah, that was saying, like, oh yeah, we're over there so we can bring schooling to third world country. And I'm thinking to myself, the schools here in America are failing. The education system has dropped so much.
You know, from the actual amount of money that we put into the school system over the last couple decades, actually it's plateaued out. It's not getting any better. Maybe the system's messed up.
Why is America, United States of America, funding schooling in third world countries when here in America the education system is basically of a third world country?
Oh yeah, it's bare minimum.
Yeah.
You need the bare minimums to pass now.
And that's what drives me crazy. When I hear all these politicians and everything, and all these people on television, especially I live here in Chicago, so all you hear is about the Chicago public school system and how it's basically already dead.
Oh, it's bankrupt.
It's bankrupt.
They keep on pushing their pension off. They keep on pushing, because every school is supposed to put money into their pensions every year. Well, I think last year alone, $1.2 billion. Rob Emanuel said, no, you don't have to put that in your pension this year. We won't have to pay that, so they could actually have more money to pay their teachers. But they're not putting it back into the pension, which is running our Chicago government into debt.
Oh, yeah.
And little quick facts, actually, back in May, the Chicago bonds have been rated a junk bond.
A junk bond?
We're the lowest bond rating in any city in the United States besides Detroit.
So Chicago, I can see Chicago being the next Detroit.
I mean, what would happen would be,
falling.
I know we're getting a little off on the subject here, but what happened to Detroit is they got rated junk bonds, so now they needed to figure out a way to raise more money, so they raised property taxes and fees, and so once they raised property taxes and fees, people started leaving Detroit, and actually that's what started collapsing their city.
And
everyone left.
All the jobs left out of Detroit.
All the jobs left, all the people left, no more property, no more taxes coming in, and then they crumbled. And that's what's going to happen here now. If we don't figure out something and, not just decide to raise property tax, because if they do, we're not going to stay here.
How about Rahm Emanuel? How about you take a pay cut and you give some of that money that you're taking in millions of dollars a year, and once you give it to the kids on the street that are trying to get an education for themselves and better their lives.
Why don't you take some of that corruption money and put it
why don't you take all that money you spent on running on election this year and oh, I won, thank God, right? Oh, yeah. But why don't you give that back to the children, to the people that you represent here in Chicago? How about that, Rahm Emanuel?
He's already rich. Don't take his salary.
Yeah.
Don't take his salary. You know what you should do? If you're in like one of those positions, maybe you shouldn't take a salary.
Right? You've already got enough money to get to that position.
Yeah, so you shouldn't take a salary then. It should be like, if you want to do this for the good of doing it, do it.
And there you go, right there. Politicians. they just skim money in, and they don't even care.
You have people lobbying, paying them money, and everything.
And all the lobbyists, exactly.
But anyways, back to the Common Core. One of the states, I don't know the others, I didn't see those, but one of the states opted out, and I'm sure we could all probably guess kind of what state opted out.
I don't want to give the answer. We're going to give a multiple choice.
Let's give a multiple choice.
Because we're about convergent thinking in public schools. Yeah. Here you go. Here's your four things. You either got Florida, Oklahoma, Colorado, or Texas.
Which one is it?
We'll just give you the answer. It was Texas.
Yeah, Texas is
Texas opted out of Common Core.
Texas opts out against a lot of things. Like Agenda 21, they opted out of.
The whole Jade Helm thing, they're standing against it.
They're standing against it as well, too. Even Chuck Norris is standing against it.
Yeah.
I saw it on YouTube.
Even Walker, Texas Rangers out there fighting for you.
Yeah. So, Texas opted out because they keep a good constitutionalized state. They want to be different than the rest of the United States. They don't have state income tax, just like Florida doesn't. And so what ends up happening is now, since they're not opting in for the Common Core, they're allowed to have schools set their own standards for what they want to be educated on. It's not a whole nationwide system. Pretty much what I think about Common Core is take a look at the Federal Reserve. It's a centralized bank. Well, this is centralized education is really what it is. Everything's turning centralized. So Common Core is centralized, the banking system's centralized. What else is going to be centralized next? I don't know. We'll figure it out.
That's why we call it Communism Core.
Yeah.
Because it's so centralized.
Yep. And so pretty much Texas opted out, and they're standing against it. And I wonder if that's why maybe they're doing a lot of this Jade Helm thing as well, too. Kind of go after Texas. Texas is kind of standing alone. Lone Ranger out there.
Yeah, the Lone Star State.
And, between Common Core and everything, it's setting the standards lower for everybody. And what it means is, from what I picked up on the documentary yesterday, it was kind of both sides of the fence documentary, so it wasn't just allocated towards one side of the fence instead of the other. But what it does is it makes everyone job and college ready getting out of high school. So actually what that means is you're either ready to go into the workforce or you're ready to go into college. But if you were ready to go into college, they would have these standardized testings like the ACT, the SAT, the ACT, and some of these other tests that they have out there. And they would be kind of rigorous because you had to be college ready to be in there. Mm-hmm. But now that high schools are doing this Common Core saying you're job and college ready, that must mean that the education from the SATs or SAT and ACTs tests are getting set a little bit lower now to kind of go towards high school education instead of college education.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of setting that standard lower, and then now you have people looking for a job, and they're trying to take that test, but really it's not the test you're supposed to take. It's this whole system where pretty much everything is lowered.
I know.
Everything is lowered now.
Let's just bring everybody to one basic line. So your students that you can obviously see that are excelling, your smarter type students, are not being given the opportunity to exceed now. They now have to be brought down to the lowest level student. Mm-hmm. So now everybody's on the same line. There's no individuality.
Oh.
You can't bring out the best opportunities in yourself and your own knowledge. You'd have to go with everybody else's.
That's ridiculous.
And there you go, Communism Core.
Communism Core. But anyways, we'll get off the Common Core subject here. And another one that I think about and everything is, through technology, through radio, TV, the internet, education should, in my mind, be getting cheaper. Because there's so many more ways to bring professors or people of their field to the classroom actually through the internet, if it's a Skype or if it's a webinar or if it's a broadcast or if it's a TV show, a YouTube video, any sort of thing like that. We have all that information being able to be streamed online now and actually brought into a classroom for kids to be taught for free. But lately, colleges charge more and more and more and more, and it's not even going with the regular inflation rate. It's going like absurd, like doubling, tripling, quadrupling what it's actually meant to be.
And it gets these kids into more and more debt as they go on their education process. As they go on this journey, they have to sign on to more and more debt.
And that's like the worst thing with the college these days. It's almost you're required to go to college almost if you want to have any sort of career. And that's the weird thing too I think about is because a long time ago, You know, if you used to go into a college or a high school or anything, and you see all the people on the wall or at a college that got degrees or whatever it is, all the people that graduated with degrees. And then nowadays, you have like tens of thousands of people with these degrees. So pretty much college now has become almost like a norm.
It's
not like
high school.
Yeah, it's like not set you apart anymore. It's like, oh, I went to college to stand out from the crowd, to actually go against, you know, what everyone else is doing, stand out, get this awesome degree
To
or this
learn
PhD.
that new knowledge.
Yeah, and now it's just becoming the normal knowledge again. So college is almost turning into like a high school. Now I want to know, when is the time that we're going to be required to go to a college-based education after high school?
I can see it coming soon.
Right?
Because look what they're already doing. Like Obama already said, oh, we're gonna make community colleges free.
Put it on the taxpayer.
Yeah, there you go. Now you pay more taxes because now everybody has to go to community college.
Just like high school now. You're paying taxes to go to high school, you're going to pay taxes to go to college. And that's just longer into your life that you're being indoctrinated into their style of thinking.
I was talking to somebody, I forget who, and they were telling me that they were talking to a teacher or something like that, and they were telling the teacher that, you know, school isn't free. The teacher was telling, oh yeah, high school, public school's free for everybody. And I forget who it was, they said that it's not free. Your taxes pay for the school.
Yeah.
And the teacher was like, no, it's free for everybody. She's like, no, you pay taxes on your property taxes that fund these public schools and the community colleges. So what are they going to do, raise everybody's taxes?
Yeah.
Because school is now free?
That's what they're going to do.
And the illegals, they're not paying taxes, but they're going to school. I'm paying for all these people to go to school just to turn out with a crappy education.
I almost think that schools should just be privatized, maybe. But then again, like, some people need the education and they're not being able to afford the private school.
I know.
So then that sets the difference, like...
It's that double-edged sword that's like really hard to...
And then, like, homeschooling. Like, actually, right now, like, a lot of politicians and everything are pushing against saying that you're allowed to educate your kid at home. They're actually saying that it's almost unlawful to educate your kid at home. Taking education from parenting.
Yeah.
Parenting is your education.
Yeah, you're not... See, as a parent, it's like you're giving up your responsibility...
To your kid.
Of raising your child with the best that they would want to be. Any parent would want that. And they're giving it to the public school.
Giving it to the state. They're letting the state, like, babysit their kids.
Exactly, while they go to work all day.
Yeah.
That's why the public school is there. For you to go to work all day. Who's going to take care of your kid? The public school. But, you know, when we come back, we're going to talk about a lot of things about public school. We're going to talk about the health quality, the finances, morals and philosophy, and how the government is coming into the public schools. So, join us back in a few minutes. InformNation.
Here we are, back with InformNation, 22 minutes past the hour. Here we are talking about education, talking about, you know what, education's really messing with us, I think. And it's messing with us in a few different ways, and I know we kind of had a couple callers in today, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the health of school, what it's doing to us, and actually what are we eating in school, because a lot of the quality of food in the schools is actually turning into almost, I would say, a fast food nation sort of type of food. I mean, we're eating, you know, pizza, burgers, hot dogs, smoothies, milkshakes, chips, sandwiches, all these foods pop. All these foods that are not, you know, making our brains any smarter. You know, it's not fueling our brains.
There's no nutritional value.
There's no nutritional value.
And when you're in school, you're using your brain all day long. That's the main energy source for your body is your brain. And these kids in schools, they're not eating anything nutritious to give their brains lots of nutrients, their bodies lots of nutrients. They're eating the processed foods. They're eating the GMO. They're eating the greasy, cheap food that's in the schools now. Even though, they've probably taken a lot of it out with this whole Michelle Obama's freaking war on schools and school lunches. But what is she doing? She's just giving them the same garbage.
I haven't seen anything else change.
She told parents, I saw an interview, she told parents, buy your kids Lunchables. Those are healthy and nutritious.
Wow.
Have you ever turned over the Lunchable and look everything on there?
It's a chemical factory.
I know. How about we put more money into these schools?
Oh, yeah.
Not for the education. How about for the food?
You know, if you look at, if you go online, and I've checked this out before, but like you go online and look up like lunches for schools across the globe, like United States has one of the worst lunches, actually.
Yes, I saw that.
And it's ridiculous how it actually looks. I mean, some countries you'll be getting like a nice piece of meat, some vegetables, maybe a little bit of rice, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, some greens, and everything like that. Good fats for your body. And those are like a lot of the European countries, actually, like Sweden and those countries are actually quite healthy when it comes to their schools' lunches. And actually, the United States just looks like a typical United States obese fat person's meal. And it's ridiculous. And actually, that kind of stands, I'm big into the health and everything, and that's ridiculous. Like, lately I've been looking into more, like, brain foods and everything that I'm eating at work because I'm trying to do the radio show, I'm doing YouTube, I'm trying to come out with new content, learn new things. And I've researched into foods that are brain powerful. And a lot of the foods that are brain powerful are like salmon. It's got great fats in it. Wild caught, of course. Broccoli, cauliflower, blueberries, nuts, seeds, avocados. Things like that are great for your brain.
You won't find a vegetable in a public school.
No, you won't.
I remember when I was in school, I graduated 2010, 2015, so 5 years ago. I remember that there was, in the lunch line, no, you can get a cheap little pre-made little salad.
Like of disgustingness,
With
like doused with trans fat dressing all over it.
I know. There's no vegetables in the public schools.
No.
It's cheap, greasy GMO food.
And I think it is a vegetable. I think I remember like carrots being one of them. It's like these disgusting carrots or whatever.
You're lucky if you get a piece of lettuce on your burger.
Yeah.
Or if you get a couple little you got some slice of pizza, maybe with a few peppers on it or something like that.
It wouldn't be that hard, I think, to actually transform what the food is going in our schools. I would think you would see a tremendous uptake in actually how smart kids are just from the food.
I'm paying enough taxes.
Yeah.
We're paying enough taxes to these schools. Why are these school lunches and even the education falling?
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, you need good food. You need to be having like a nice little meat, some maybe asparagus or broccoli, something like that.
Something well-rounded.
Not to mention, when you're eating these foods, I mean, like just like I know when I eat these sort of foods, that when you eat these high carb, high sugar, high trans fat meals that are chemically processed and everything, you feel like complete crap after lunch.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like, you feel lethargic. Your brain's not working. You want to take a nap. You don't want to go to your next class. You don't want to do your next activity.
Oh, but they got something for that. It's called medication.
It's called Adderall. It's called, here, let me pump this kid with Adderall. And actually the reason that they're pumping these kids with Adderall is right now we are seeing the most, in history across any time, is the most influential, like, marketing coming in at us. Like most, I'm trying to think of the word.
Advertisement. We're being bombarded with advertising and stimulation.
Everywhere. It's the most, I had it here in my notes somewhere, but I can't think. Most stimulating. It's the most stimulating part right now with commercials, advertisements, things that we're learning, music, everything. It's coming at us in every single direction, and that's why we're pumping kids up on ADD medication.
Because they're being overloaded.
Yeah.
And because they're being overloaded with so much propaganda from the system and everything else, what is it doing? It's changing the morals and philosophies of these kids.
And you could tell where the ADD is traveling, because actually if you go up to the East Coast, if you start traveling from west to east, the ADD medication rate goes higher and higher and higher.
Really?
As you hit the East Coast, yeah.
It's just because of that urban density.
Yeah.
People aren't getting out into nature anymore.
It's stimulating out there.
You're stuck in the school all day long, and when you get out, what do you have to do? Go home and do homework.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have that time to go out and get back into nature. Go for that walk.
Oh, yeah.
Go play at the park.
Like my brother was telling me, he's in a lot of AP classes. Next year he's jumping into high school, and he's in all AP classes. And he was telling me, he's like, a lot of the kids are saying that it's going to be at least 4 to 6 hours of homework. 4 to 6. That's like another school day that you have to go do at home. I'm like CJ, like, when are you going to have time to like play, like go outside, go to your Boy Scouts? He likes doing the computer thing. When you have time to do that, like,
I know.
That's ridiculous.
You go to school all day and then you go to school all night.
Mm-hmm.
The only break you have is maybe freaking 5 minutes.
We'll cut that one out.
Yeah. Even though I said freaking.
Freaking, okay, there
You
we
have
go.
a freaking 5 minutes
Yeah.
to just maybe eat with your family if you didn't get processed food from the McDonald's, and then you go to bed, sleep, wake up,
And then a
repeat.
lot of kids aren't getting adequate amount of sleep.
Yep.
Going to school and everything. And not to mention a lot of the foods that we're giving our kids, cereal and everything, just spiking their insulin, throwing them into an insulin sensitive spot, and actually driving, their lethargic down, or they're being lethargic going into school. Their brains aren't prepared to learn, and they're just eating crap before school, they're eating crap at school, and they're probably eating crap back at home.
Yep.
And why are we not seeing any more common sense these days? Maybe because we're not eating good for our brains. You need to eat for your brain.
Maybe the morals and philosophy are gone as well.
It is.
They're not teaching any good morals in the schools.
No, they're not. There's no prayer in school anymore. Christians and Jews are targeted while Muslims and atheists are left alone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can. If you're a Christian or a Jew and you want to have a prayer before your meal in school, can't do that. You can't read the Bible in school. Oh, but the Muslims and atheists, they can pray in school because that's them. But you're not allowed to do nothing.
And what do we have here? No more Pledge of Allegiance
Yeah.
in class. I know. I didn't see that in high school anymore.
They just took away the Pledge of Allegiance. And then what they say? Why? Well, because it said God in there.
Yeah,
But
it's
not
like, oh
everybody
God.
believes in God, so
But
we got to take it out.
They're just totally stepping on our Constitution, is what they're doing in schools. They're making kids go against the Constitution.
They're indoctrinating the children that they don't need the Constitution anymore. It was a document of its time.
That's what they're saying.
That has nothing to do with what happens in America today.
They're saying the Constitution's a document of the time. They're giving us false history. It's like they're just manipulating our mind
Yeah.
over 20 years. And actually, what are you gonna think after 20 years? You're gonna think how they want you to think. It's grade A brainwashing, is what it is. And it's not like a good brainwash where you get all the bad crap out that they've taught you.
Yeah.
That's what I try to do now. I try to brainwash myself to my real self.
Got to brain wash,
Yeah.
cleanse.
Yeah, I need to cleanse myself of all the crap that's friggin' society and public schools instilled in me over the years.
I know. What's another thing? They're taking down the American flag in the schools because, it's because of diversity.
That's ridiculous.
Oh, everybody's from another country. Nobody lives here in America.
So why don't we just put the UN frickin' sign in our classroom now?
Yeah.
Because that's what we're doing.
Wait and see.
I guarantee you there's going to be a day where we're having UN flags flown in the United States of America.
Because there's no individual countries
No.
anymore. We're all a UN now.
And like people want to like stand and say, okay, well I'm from this country. But, like you came to America for a reason.
Yeah. How come you never hear anybody say, hey, what nationality are you? Oh, I'm from a European country. Oh, I'm from a South American country.
No,
I'm from
you're
Mexican.
American with a whatever heritage.
Exactly.
Most people don't say that.
Nobody identifies as American anymore.
No, they
They
don't.
take down the flag in public schools because of diversity. But they don't understand that you live here in America. You use American money. You go to American schools. You participate in American culture.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be so diverse, see, that's the thing. They've overruled freedom and put diversity in there. Oh, we're proud that we're a diverse culture. We're not proud that we're a free society.
It's now about diversity.
And the free society is bad now. Why? Because it's so unsafe.
It's trying to like put us on scale with the rest of the world.
Yeah.
I thought United States stood out
From the world.
Yeah, that's why we founded this country. We wanted to stand out. We wanted to be free. We wanted to be unique. We wanted to be an individual nation based upon individuality. But now we're turning into a communist state or a socialist state based upon community. And don't get me wrong. Community is good. Like, we need community and everything. We need to have people around us, family, friends, whatever, our own community that we decide upon.
But what makes the community strong? The individual.
Yeah.
It's that individual strength and ability, integrity that makes the community strong. Because if you have a bunch of strong individuals, you have a strong community.
Oh, yeah.
If you have just a weak community because of weak individuals, that's what you're going to have.
It's ridiculous, man. I don't know what to say about this. Like, education gets me fired up.
And that's why I talk to parents out there, and I encourage parents, be involved in your kids' education. Don't let the public school take control of them. It's you, that's your child.
And, like, kids don't, you know, I always try to tell my brother this. I'm like, if there's something that you don't believe that the teacher's saying, or something that you know that's false, or something that you have an extra question about, something that's really going to cut to the core of what they're, ask it. So I think a lot of kids are scared of asking questions.
Because they don't want to be singled out.
They don't want to be singled out in class.
They feel like they're being singled out by the teacher by going against the grain of what the teacher's saying. And that's what makes education great, is that interaction.
The debate.
Exactly.
It's about the debate. And I think what Gary Knauer said, you know, we stand for this country to have debates.
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving you the freedom to talk against freedom.
Yeah.
That's the beauty
That's
of freedom.
the
beauty of freedom. You can decide that you don't want freedom, but we're going to debate about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the beauty
Not
of
just,
it.
oh, there's just one way, and that's it.
Yeah. And that's where we're headed.
It's one way, common core, the highway.
Yeah.
And that's why the education system is dying. And that's why kids are becoming less knowledgeable. I guess you can say stupid. And look what's happening to the society. The street culture, the gang culture is in the schools now, destroying the schools. They've taken God and morality and everything out of the schools. Now what's everybody doing? No morals, no ethics.
No
empathy towards others.
It's sad what's, you know, I'd like to go into these schools and actually talk. I'd love to go into a school and talk. Like, I'd like to take my state of mind right now, go back to school, and, like, give them something to be reckoned with. Like, honestly. Like, I'd like to go back there and be like, why are you teaching this? This isn't right. Or why do I mean, like, even in school, I'm like, why do I need to learn this?
I've said
even
that.
then, I'm like, why am I learning this? I have no interest, or I know I'll never have in it. Oh, well, we're teaching it just in case. No! I don't like this.
It's like, I want to ask those teachers, how many careers out there that these children are going to be able to get into use the amount of insane math or insane science that people use?
Like, never. And if you want to do it, like, I get it.
Yeah, I get it.
Take the class and
I
do
get
it.
the basic math, basic things that people need. But it's getting to the point where, like, we're learning so divergent. It's not divergent. We're learning convergent thinking.
Yeah.
That it's just, okay, this is it. There's nothing else. We're not going to teach you anything else, anything real.
That's ridiculous. I think we should be having schools based upon life, based upon where you're at.
And that's why I promote, you know, getting an internship, getting an apprenticeship, things like that.
I mean, just look at you. I mean, you're over here producing now.
Yeah.
Did you go to school to run this?
No. You know what it is? Years ago, I told myself I would love to do radio. You know, life got in the way, things happen. And then I came into this opportunity. It was like, wow, I get to actually learn this because I want to. And I seized the opportunity.
And if you go out there and you have a passion and you set your goals and you set yourself to do something, you should go do it. You don't always need to have an education behind you. Just like when we had Todd on earlier, he built his foundation already. He figured out his personality, his character, how he wanted to do radio, his whole philosophy with radio. And then he wanted to hone in on a couple skills. He wanted to hone in on the business side of it. He wanted to make it, you know, professional now. He wanted to go out there and conquer with 24.7 The Stream. And look, here we are. We're a radio station right now.
1 year.
Todd's a great producer. He's got more passion than I've seen anybody have about radio before.
Exactly.
And here we are learning day by day. There's not a day where you should go without learning. We're always learning.
If you go a day without learning something, you lost the day.
You missed something about today if you didn't learn something. Every day should be a learning experience. If it's, like right now I'm doing this Life Leadership. And Life Leadership is these audio CDs that I get to listen to in my car rides. That's teaching me things throughout my day that I wouldn't otherwise get.
Yeah.
Because I'm surrounding myself with knowledge.
They're not teaching that in the public school.
And then what happens? I turn into a knowledgeable person because I've set myself around knowledgeable people, knowledgeable information, good information.
Yep.
And then I've set time aside to listen to these things. And here I am becoming a stronger version of myself because I'm taking time out of my day to learn things.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like most people are listening, you know, most people in their car, and don't get me wrong, I listen to it all the time, like music and stuff. But, like, you know, music's good and everything like that. It can get you up, it can get you vibing and everything like that.
But music kind of gets boring after a while.
It's like gum. It's like just chewing gum. It's just something to do in the meantime. It's just like you're just sitting there doing it, and it's just something to do, and you're listening to it, but it's really not giving you anything. It's not giving you any benefit. Like on my way here today, I was listening to a CD, and I just
what'd you learn?
Well, it was talking about God, you're hitting me hard with this one. It's called Life Training.
Okay.
Is the CD series. It's called the Apprenticeship one, and actually it was talking about kind of going over and beyond what people are saying about you. Like everyone's putting down on a lot of people. Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that. And so everyone's really everyone's getting down on you because, oh, they think you can't do this, they think you can't do that. But the fact, take people becoming, I'm trying to think of the word, I can't think of the word that they're using. But take people that are pushing you down and have that build you up. Like, reverse it.
It's like hearting, loving haters.
Yeah.
Because it just gives you that, I'm going to prove that person wrong.
Yeah.
Not just like, oh, well, they're hated on me, so I'm going to stop. It's, okay, these people hating on me, I'm going to prove it to them.
It's like, go even harder.
Yeah.
Like, people who are giving you appreciation, take it and become stronger and give more energy. People are hating on you, take that hate, turn it into a positive energy. Be like, you know what, I'm going to prove that person wrong. And that's what it's about,
And that's why parents, we need to instill that in our children.
Mm-hmm.
We need to, as parents, we need to bring that back to our kids. That, just prove them wrong.
And the thing is, not every education is going to be about a certain subject or anything. But like I was saying with that CD, it's like it's something that builds you up. It's something that builds your self-respect, your self-esteem, yourself up to actually wanting to go out there and go get at your passion. Like how many classes amp you up? How many classes amp you up to learn about something? How many classes amp you up to go follow your passion?
None.
How many classes are telling you I do YouTube videos, like how many classes would there to be like, dude, you could do a video on this, and we could talk about this and that, and get me all amped up, so when I get home tonight, I get to go do a video.
Yeah, not coming home and realizing, oh God, I got to do homework
about something I don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that's ridiculous.
I just spent 8 hours doing this all day. I got to do it for another 4?
Yeah.
Really?
So you should focus on things that are making you enjoy learning. I mean, excuse my language there, but you go through your day and pick up a book. Mm-hmm. How many people are picking up books lately?
Very rare.
Very rare to pick up a book. How many people are listening to the audio CDs? Very rare.
How many times I've told people oh, what do you like to do? I like to do radio. I like to read. I like to read research documents, research papers, documentaries, and they look at me like, wait, what?
It's like we sound boring.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting. And it's like, look what I'm doing with this information now.
It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Oh, I watched the Hawks game last night. Well, that's great. Well, that's great. They really helped you, huh? Brought you next step closer to something.
Where are you going with that Hawks game? They're like,
Yo, we're going to the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, like, another one of those wee things.
Yeah, because you're going, right? You got tickets, huh?
You got tickets? Oh, you're on the team? Oh, no, you're just watching it from your house.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that.
And it's just it's just we're in a society where everything is based on watching things happen and not doing anything for ourselves.
Spectator society, and that it's been taught through the school system.
Being spectators, following rules.
Yeah.
Not standing up against the rules.
Not bringing the individuality out.
Mm-hmm. And we're talking about art a little bit earlier, and I had a little note here about art. And art is an aesthetic experience when your senses are fully at their peak. So art is your vision. Colors, everything, you need your vision to interpret it. Mm-hmm. You need sound if you're doing theater, you're hearing how another person talks, you're hearing how the conjunctions in between your voice and everything, how to talk to people. You're smelling things, you're touching things, your pottery, you're molding things with your hand.
Yep.
All these senses are going off all at once. They're all at their peak.
Cooking with smelling and tasting.
And then you have anesthetic, is when you shut your senses off. And that's what's happening to kids these days. They're shutting their senses down, and they're just zombified looking at the screen, or looking at the whiteboard, or the chalkboard, whatever it is. That they probably use whiteboards more now these days. And you're just staring at it. And you're just zombified, and everything's literally coming in and just going right out, coming in and just going right out. Instead of getting your senses going and standing up and getting up and walking around the classroom, meeting people, talking about different things, because the best education happens within groups, group decisions. And then there's certain subjects that maybe it's a two-person thing. Mm-hmm. And then there's certain subjects where maybe it is a one-person thing. But they should always use that. Different subjects should be allocated to different group sizes instead of saying, oh, well, you're just one person, you need to focus on this, 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 and this. The best idea...
I like that. I never thought about that before.
Best ideas come from a group mentality kind of thing.
Yeah.
That guy, that made me think of this now, and what about that, and that? And then it's like, oh, that's a great idea. We just innovated.
In the classroom, the children aren't adding to the content.
Yeah.
They're just being shoveled content.
Yeah.
And just here it is. That's it. Not, wait, what about this? Sparking debate, conversation, getting more involved.
I always liked the teachers that would, like, we'd get off on little debates or rants or little side tangents and everything. I used to love those teachers.
Because I learned more.
Because that was like, oh, like you're kind of like leaning forward in your seat, like you want to raise your hand, like I got a story for that one.
Yeah.
And you want to get involved in it. But nowadays it's like, no, you need to sit there and you need to shut up and you need to listen to this because you're going to have to take a test later today on this subject.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody wants to do that. I mean, you know, we need to get up. We need to stretch out. We should be doing meditation in class. We should be having kids, you know, this kind of go into our solution segment here is, you know, try to, you know, help kids figure out who they are.
Exactly.
But anyways, we're going to come back. We're going to talk, you know, more solutions to actually this education system. Things that we could do at home, things that we could talk to our teachers about, talk to our faculty members about if you're a teacher out there. But this is InformNation, and we'll be back right after this. Back with InformNation. Here we are, 47 minutes past the hour. If you want to throw in a quick little question here, we're at 630-445-1213. That's 630-445-1213. And me and Dave were just chit-chatting here on break really quick, and we had to bring this up because we know we've all gone through it if we've been in any United States public school system in the past like 20, 30, 40 years. I don't know when it got established. But DARE.
Yeah, DARE.
DARE.
What is DARE? Drug Abuse Resistance Education. And when do they teach it to you? 4th, 5th grade?
Yeah. I didn't even know what drugs were then.
Exactly. I didn't have no idea that there even were these things called drugs.
Like, thank you, school system, for telling me all I needed to know about drugs and which ones are going to get me the highest.
Yeah, thank you for putting me into the drug culture so I can now experiment with drugs, get caught with them, wind up in jail, get a criminal record, get back on the street, have a criminal record, not be able to get a job, and only just get right back into the drug cycle.
And we're in the most drug-abusing society, and we're teaching DARE.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder if that's just giving all kids precognition to what drugs are. Getting their minds set up to do drugs.
I guess,
it's like a reverse psychology.
I guess DARE can be a good thing, but at an older age where you're able to understand, not 4th and 5th grade, where you don't know and you can't understand what these things are. Mm-hmm. You have no idea. And even sex ed. Mm-hmm. They're teaching it to younger and younger children. They have no idea about sex.
No.
They've never hit puberty.
But now they're wondering about it. It's curiosity now. They have curiosity about drugs. They heard about it in 4th or 5th. It's like curiosity killed the cat.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I'm curious about drugs and sex now. Maybe I should try these things because I heard about them. Yeah. Or if you never heard about them, maybe you would never try it.
Yeah. It would never even be in the thought process.
Yeah, it wouldn't be in your normal thought process if you didn't hear drugs. You have like a police officer that comes in your school like one time a week and he teaches you about drugs.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
It's like
my kids are being taught about drugs.
Yeah, instead I think we should just take kids and just send them on a vision quest. Go get them some ayahuasca and some psilocybin mushrooms. Go send them out in nature with Dr. whatever, doopda, and send them out there on a vision quest and go realize and defragment these kids.
And bring themselves
from the
out.
years and years of school manipulation. That's what we should do.
We're just kidding. We're not advocating drug use.
Yeah, we're not advocating
But we're
drug
advocating
use.
individuality.
But it could help. I mean, it could help. I'm just saying that if a kid went on a vision quest, I mean, they did it in, like, tribes and stuff. Like, you had to, like, go do your peyote or whatever it is.
To become a man.
To become a man. I mean, now we're like, we don't have men in society. We have a bunch of boys running around.
Yeah.
Making temper tantrums about this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
They have no self-respect, no self-discipline, and they're just bitching and moaning about everything. And is that a real man? No, it's not, because we raised a bunch of boys in school. Not to mention, quick little side note here, it's actually not a side note, but females teaching in school. How often are we around females in school? I forgot to put this on our notes. It just kind of hit me right now.
Oh, yeah.
But now we don't have men teaching. Actually, if a man wants to teach, they look at a guy like, oh, wow, you're weird. You want to teach little boys? Yeah, like, I like kids. Like, it's not weird for a man to, like, want to teach kids. Like,
exactly.
But society has put this, like, precognition idea back in our head.
If you're a man and you teach school, oh, you must be a pedophile.
Yeah. It's like, you know,
when you even see that more women teachers are molesting these kids in school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what, you're always going to have your bad apples. Don't get me wrong, you're always going to have your bad apples out there. But the fact of the matter is now we're putting a lot of males around just feminine energy with the teacher all day long. And I'm not saying that we don't need feminine energy. We all have a balance. Men have more masculine energy, women have more feminine energy, and we have a little bit of the other, yin and yang.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact of the matter is that we're raising these kids around just females all the time, especially when they're really young. Like really young kids,
And
like
very
kindergarten, preschool, 1st through like 5th grade. It's like all women teachers.
And like they don't even have, and the women teachers, and there's no men in the schools. Look, there's no men in the house.
Yeah.
Because there's single parents out there.
And they're not getting that male influence with them.
And then what are males turning to? The street culture, the
Yeah.
violence.
Yeah.
In order to get that masculine energy out.
Because they don't have a good male role model in school. So I think that's screwing with kids. And I think that has a lot to do with I like to call it the pussification of America through the men and everything, how we're just being almost turned into women. Women are being turned into men. It's like, what is going on? And I think it has a lot to do with our education. But anyways, I talk about solutions here. We like to talk about solutions at the end of InformNation. And I think a solution would be, maybe have 2 teachers in a classroom when they're younger at least. Male and a female, to show both roles.
Yeah.
To show kids.
And also, since there's that many kids in the class, there's 2 teachers. They'll be able to interact with children more.
You're
like more one-on-one time.
You have 2, a class of 30 kids, 10 to 15 for each teacher. Then it breaks up their time a lot easier where they can learn a lot more then.
Yeah.
And now you're getting both sides of the fence. You're getting a male's perspective and you're getting a female's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, at the same time, you're getting 2 perspectives. You're being able to think. Maybe the teachers could debate a little bit on a subject.
Yeah, and that's causing the kids to think.
Yeah. Now you're thinking more. That's more the divergent thinking now. That's what we want. We want to be divergent. We want to think differently. We want to be creative. We want to come up with more ideas to more subjects. We want to innovate. We want to create, new things.
So we can further society.
Yeah, and that's what we should do.
Not Common Core.
No.
Bringing everybody to the same level. So there is no creativity anymore. So that we can't further society. It's the crazy people, it's the extremists that changed history.
Yeah.
Everybody thought the earth was flat.
Until
some crazy extremist said the earth was round. They all thought he was nuts.
Yeah.
Until it turned out to be true.
A lot of people go out. Everything in today, it's the crazy people that change things.
Mm-hmm.
You got to listen to the crazies. Because they're the ones that are thinking out of the box. They're the ones that didn't get brainwashed by school. And it's like, we might be on here in InformNation. You might think a lot of things we're talking about are crazy. But I'm just throwing ideas out there.
Yeah.
It's like
planting seeds.
Yeah, it's like, you don't have to listen to everything I say. Don't even believe anything that I say. Just think about it. Make your own decision. Go do your own research. I'm just here to get your brain thinking a little bit more.
Yep.
Trying to spread ideas out there. And that's what it's about. That's what the freedom of this country is about, of spreading ideas and I always want to say InformNation, but information out there.
For the nation.
Yeah, information for the nation.
And what's another big, I just came up with this right now, another big, huge solution. Being involved in your kid's education.
Yeah.
As a parent. Getting to that PTA meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Talking to the school faculty. Figuring out what's being taught in the school, what's being taught to your individual child, and if you don't like it, say something about it.
Go talk to the board. Go get a petition and say, we want to have influence on what you're teaching our kids.
Yeah.
Our kids are growing up not learning how to know this, that, and the other. It's like, well, let's teach these kids this.
Mm-hmm.
Because on a parent level, I get to see my kid when he comes home. I get to see how he acts. I get to see what he really likes doing. Let's figure that out. Let's maybe not put kids in age groups, but let's put kids in intellectual groups. Let's put kids in groups like, these kids like science. That kid that's 7 years old knows a lot about science, just about as much as that 13-year-old does. We'll put them in the same class. It doesn't matter what your age is. It matters on what your interest, your passion level is, how quick you're learning.
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't be holding kids back.
And even the kids that aren't learning as quick. The slower type kids, they don't grasp as hard. They're not stupid, they're not dumb, they just can't catch on.
They just maybe need a different way of teaching them.
Yes.
That's all we need. We need some different ways of giving these kids information. Some people like to learn visually, some people like to learn, reading something off a piece of paper. Some people like textbooks, some people like videos, some people like pictures. Some people like hands-on. Some people want to go in the field. Some people just want to think about it to themselves for a little bit before they decide what they're going to learn or what they're going to do. But we're not letting kids do this.
Preach.
I mean, we're not. I mean, it's like realistically, we're not. We're not having kids decide anything for themselves anymore. Kids have no idea of what they want to do because they've never been asked what they want to do.
Yes.
It's
How many times
ridiculous.
I've been told as soon as you got left high school, oh, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? It's like, wait, what?
I don't know what I want to do. You guys only gave me this one piece of paper with a bunch of jobs on it. I don't want to do any of these. I want to go do my own thing. I want to take that job, and that job, and I want to go put it into my own job. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to go innovate. I want to go be the next Steve Jobs. I want to go be the next Galileo. I want to be the next, anybody. Mm-hmm. I want to be me. I want to be Alex.
I don't want to be the cookie cutout version from the public school system.
And that's what they're doing to kids. We need to give kids a right. They're young.
Yep, and very impressionable.
Yeah.
We need to be imparting good qualities and and good things and morals to these kids, so when they come out of school and come into the real world, they're strong adults. They're not just boring adults who work for the man. Go out and be an entrepreneur. That's what made America great, was entrepreneurship.
Innovating the future.
Yeah. How many different inventions and creative things came out of America that changed the last century?
Why do people come here? Because we were supposed to have the option of becoming innovators, becoming ourselves, becoming, inventors.
Why? Because we gave them freedom.
Yeah.
That freedom from bonds that made them great.
And now we're just pushing it all back down.
And look at society today. It's going down.
We built it up. Look where we are today. We built a lot of things. We've built buildings. We've built buildings that are almost mile tall. We've built buildings. We've built societies. We've built systems. We've engineered things that no man has thought about ever before. Why? Because the people out there were innovative enough to think for themselves and to have an imagination. Mm-hmm. And imagination is really where school should come.
Yeah.
Your imagination.
Oh, wow. That's powerful.
And I mean, that's where we should have kids focusing on in school. We're now in an era where we might not have to do the back-breaking labor anymore. We might not have to work a factory job because machines are taking over for that. But what it leads us to is a society where we get to figure out what we want to do, how to connect with people. Mm-hmm. May it be big, may it be small, but whatever pleases us, we can do now, and we can make money.
And look at the internet. It's connected so much.
Yeah.
Even though you can argue that it is driving people away from each other, and I can see it. But using it as a resource,
as a tool.
Yeah, not as an entertainment system.
Just, we need to take the internet, we need to take imagination, we need to take innovativeness, entrepreneurship, and we need to incorporate that in our school systems. We need to incorporate individuality back into our school systems again. Because without individuality, America will fall. I guarantee you, if we go the way we're going with Common Core communism and not letting kids pick the studies that they want to go in or giving people crappy food, we're going to fall. It's just a matter of time.
Yep.
And not a lot of people might realize it.
Everybody can slightly see it. It's already heading that way. But we're going to stop it. We're going to work together.
This is InformNation. We want to have the world become smarter and more individualized. So please take this broadcast and think about it in your own mind and not have anybody else play a role on you.
This has been InformNation.
This has been InformNation. This has been an awesome talk today. We got a little amped up at the end, but we'll see you next week.